Hello everyone and welcome back. Today the plant of the day is going to be caladiums. We are going to be talking about caladiums today. We're going to try to cover all things caladiums in this video today. So let's get straight into it. Caladiums are native to tropical rainforests and certain regions of South America and Latin America. Now, there are some varieties that come from the Caribbean islands, such as Puerto Rico and also the Lesser Antilles. Now, caladiums, they come from the Araceae family. They are often known by the common name elephant ears, and they are closely related to the alocasia, the calocasia, and some other names for these beauties would be the heart of Jesus and also angel wings. Now, these plants are really beautiful. They come in a variety of different colors and they just bring a source of life and light to any household garden. There are over 1,000 named cultivars of Caladium bicolor from the original South American plant. Now, they are known to grow in open areas of the forest and on banks of rivers, and they do go dormant during the dry season. Now, the wild plants, they can grow to a maximum 35 inches tall with leaves that are about 6 to 18 inches long and broad. Now, there are two different varieties that we probably have in our gardens this day, and these are called the fancy-leaved and also the lance-leaved caladiums. Now, the fancy leaf caladiums is more commonly known and also commonly seen because it's considered the traditional type of the two. These caladiums are more heart-shaped than the lance leaves, and they grow best in semi-shaded area, and they can reach to a height of 12 to 30 inches tall depending on the cultivar or the growing conditions. The lance leaf caladiums, they are also narrow and they have elongated leaves, but their margins are more ruffled, and these types, they tend to produce more leaves than the fancy leaf that may produce like 2 or 3 leaves at a time, or you might find 4 leaves at a time. The lance leaf, they tend to have a wider, much more bushier kind of look to it compared to the fancy leaf types. Most of the caladiums in cultivation, they grow to about 24 inches high and 24 inches wide, but there are now dwarf varieties that have been cultivated or are in cultivation. So if you have one of those, it's not that your plants are not producing big leaves as you would want them to. It's probably one of those types, the dwarf types, that has been cultivated. Caladiums, they grow from tubers and can be propagated by dividing these tubers. Now, in some parts of the world, caladiums can be considered an annual, but here in the Caribbean, we actually consider this plant a perennial because we don't have to deal with the great temperature changes that some other countries may experience. But one thing that we may experience, or we do experience at some point, is some dormancy. Now, if it is you have experienced some dormancy, meaning that your plant one day it has lovely leaves and then after some time there are no leaves being pushed out from the soil, it's because your plant has gone dormant. It's not that your plant is dead, it's just that the growing season for this plant is now over and it has taken a rest. It's taking a rest to now come back again with a force. Okay, so don't throw away the soil or don't use the pot for something else, because you might dig it up and you might damage the tuber that has been planted there. But keep it, tag it. If you have a really good memory, then you don't have to tag it. You could put it aside until you see that it's starting to produce the leaves again. So keep this in mind when you do have these caladiums in your garden. In some countries, there are some persons who, because of the temperature changes, because their conditions are much colder and they experience winter, they may have to uproot these tubers and store them inside until that period has passed, and then after they would be able to plant them out again. During their growing season, they require moderate watering, so try not to keep this plant damp, not soggy. Most varieties prefer partial to full shade, although there are some sun-resistant varieties that have been cultivated. If you are planting your plants in a sunny location, it is important that your plant should receive some shade during the hottest parts of the day. Now, I did a little experiment because I recently started my Caladium journey and I wanted to see which ones could handle more sunlight than the others. So I would have placed majority of them, or matter of fact all of them, in the sun, where it would have received sun from 11 a.m. to like about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And I saw the ones that were able to handle that sunlight, and then I saw the ones that got scorched. Now, don't be like me. You don't have to be like me and try that experiment to then have burnt leaves in the end, but I just wanted to see where I could have put some of these plants. So I saw the plants that could handle more light, more sunlight, and I noticed the plants that needed to be in the shade. All parts of these plants, they are poisonous, so this is not a plant to be playing around with, okay? They should not be ingested. They can irritate, or they may irritate, sensitive skin. Now, caladiums, this is something to take note of, so please listen up. Caladiums, they do not have stems. The leaves are born to large petioles, and these petioles, they are attached to the center of the leaves and not to the end, like some of our other plants where we would see it attached to the end. Don't think that you can go, you see your neighbor has a lot of different caladiums and you're thinking, ooh, these look really nice. I can go and just cut and stick it in the ground and it'll grow. It's not going to grow because it does not have a stem, okay? That's just one long leaf connected to the plant. Remember, it has to be divided by a tuber in order for it to grow. So remember that, okay? We have a lot of different varieties. I have chosen container gardening for majority of my plants. We have patios, you have decks, you have window boxes. Companion planting, meaning that you can put, along with caladiums, you can add another plant as well that complements the caladium. Ensure that your soil is fertile. These plants, they like well-drained soil. To improve the texture and the fertility of your soil, you can add some compost or topsoil when you are planting or transplanting these plants. For my indoor gardeners, some tips for you. So keep your soil moist. Do not have them sitting in standstill water. Drainage is important. It is key. How do we check? We usually dip our finger in. If the soil is stuck to our finger, then we know that it is good. You don't have to water it. When it does not stick to our finger, then we water the plant. Keep that in mind. In their natural growing conditions, caladiums are used to humidity levels of 50%. So ideally, you need to try to replicate that environment indoors. Now, let's think a little bit. Which place do we know produces humidity majority of the times during the day? One of those places would be the kitchen, right? If you do have your caladiums indoors, you can consider putting your caladiums near the kitchen or in the kitchen, where when you are cooking, it would receive the moisture from the air. My lovelies, so this brings me to the end of this video here today. I really hope that you enjoyed the information that I would have shared. Let me know. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.